So let's start with, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you, what's your background and how did you start Raises.com?
Yeah, good question. So we started Raises.com. I mean, my background, I guess I started as a programmer, actually. I went to Queen's University, several years back. That's a small university in a place called Kingston, Ontario in Canada. I, did some coding, and then I learned about blockchain and, cryptocurrencies, things like that. And then I saw that there was a big gap because people were raising capital for blockchain companies in an underregulated way. And so I said, what about doing it the regulated way? And so I found a company, a small investment bank in Canada, that they focused on being one of the first people to do this, raising capital for blockchain companies. Learned how they worked. I registered with an organization called they have the register, what is it called? The people who regulates investments and exempt offerings, they call them. So I registered with them, took my exams, we closed some transactions, a few $1 million in transactions. And then from there, I learned how they operated. And then I set up a different company called Raises.com to fix some of the inefficiencies that we saw when it came to raising capital. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Nice. And why that name? How did you get to Raises.com?
Yeah, good question. The original name was actually a different name. It was called Aeropolis Capital. And then we changed the name to Raises.com because we just want to simplify everything. We saw the opportunity, we're looking for actually domains. And we saw the opportunity to get a domain valued at a few six figures, multiple six figures. And we wanted to simplify the capital raising process for people who haven't done a proper capital raise by us being simple. Because if we're not simple, if we have a name that's hard to spell, hard to pronounce, it shows that we're complicated. So we just want to simplify everything so that even a dog can understand what we do. So that's the point.
Sure, very much. So you wanted to basically like not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. That's kind of what comes to mind.
Yeah, because the more people have us on their brain, the more that they can remember us, and then the better our service becomes, because we're able to put our name in front of other people so that other people would get the credibility they want. It makes people can remember things much easier, and makes life much simpler for everyone.
Yeah, I saw you even have it on your website in the introduction video. You had something like a line that's something in the lines of, we're doing what we're doing so successfully that we managed to get that name, and that in itself, it's an authoritative name.
It is, because in the financial space, because a lot of our clients, they need the credibility, and we want to show them that in the financial space, especially, there are a lot of scams. Whenever you're dealing with money, you have to just really just invest in looking legitimate. As a capital raiser, as a business person, then there's no better investments than being legitimate and looking legitimate.
I can imagine. And yeah, that is an issue. And also a lot of scams, as you mentioned, work around domain names as well. So people that don't pay attention and don't secure the right name, a lot of scams can follow as that. And that's something that I oftentimes discuss with people, and oftentimes we see in the news when it's too late, where you have, so effectively, in a way, yes, you invest in your brand, you invest in your own business, but it also shows respect to your audience and to your target business partners, because you're taking their security as well seriously.
I agree. I definitely agree. I mean, and I think one thing that is at the heart of what we do is really thinking in systems, because long term, the more we simplify the process, the more people feel secure, the better results that they get, the more people come to us, and so and the more people remember us. So anything that becomes a feedback loop, everything takes care of itself. So.
Absolutely. And I also noticed you have secured your own name as a domain name.
Yes, that was a while ago. I think that was 2000 and something. I was pretty young then, and it was funny enough that was when I was actually learning HTML. So I actually we secured a domain. My family actually secured a domain name. I didn't even know about the internet and domains that much back then. It was like 2000
Okay.
and the year 2001 or something. So, or something, I can't remember the exact time. And then we just coded an HTML websites. People can look up the history on the tools that look at the history, but
Yeah.
the name is really important because people say, okay, who's the founder? And then they see and then they see the first result. So everybody should get their own name. And before somebody gives birth to a child, they should buy the domain name before
When it's possible, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. No, I know it's a thing now. I have that as well. The last one I got was for my nephew actually, and the best part is I was like so excited I managed to get it, that when it was, because he's like only 3 years old, and
Yeah.
when it was his birthday, I forgot to like give it to, because it's not the gift you put in a box. So I actually forgot to give it to him. I'm like, do I wait for next year maybe?
Yeah.
Like I forgot to give it to, well, his mom actually, because he's not at an age where I feel appreciated. But I was pretty happy with that, because especially with the way things are going, I don't think we probably had an idea of what a domain name is, but not that much. It was like, yeah, it's a thing you use for an email, or you type in an address. But like kids nowadays, they're like way ahead. I don't think we'll need to explain to them what is what.
Exactly. And definitely coronavirus and all these things, it really just, because we actually started a business in the pandemic. And so everything online, especially now, people are taking things online more real than even real life. So that's just the way the world
Yeah.
is right now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think for good or bad it's going back. I don't see it going back.
Yeah, totally agree.
What else did I want to ask? Is there a domain name? That's maybe my last one, domain names, and I have some other questions. Is there a name that you don't own but you wish you did?
There is one. That's a good question. There's a domain name called, I guess there are two. There's a domain name called funding.com. In another world, it'd be nice to have that one, because I want to one day, I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Rockefeller and then the people who did all these things, but what they would do, they would own multiple companies, and then they'll treat the companies as if they're separate competitors, but really it's the same person that owns everything. So I just want to get another domain name that offers services that Raisescom currently cannot do, and then have another one that is really strong, funding.com, something like that. And then they'll be competitors, but really it's the same company. So that's another goal I have in the future.
I love that. That is actually very, I think you can learn a lot from that experience if you were to operate businesses as the same owner, whether it's individual or group, but let them act as competitors. It's very much, it's like an extension of critical thinking, I guess, because you when you dig yourself up in one position in one thing, you miss things that from another perspective can be obvious.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder, did. He said that if we can compete with ourselves really well, then that means nobody would be able to, if we could compete with our own departments the best. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are an athlete as well. You're pretty much into sports, yeah. I do running myself. I wouldn't I'm very, very far from professional, but I do train 3 or 4 times a week. What from the sports world do you see applies to how you do business?
Good question. What I see is, so I used to play football, and I see it's kind of like, I was thinking of this morning. So sometimes it's like, as somebody is raising money from investors, or somebody's, getting money from clients or anything like that. When I look at capitalism in the way it is, it's almost like football in a sense. Like, you get the football and you have to hold it, but no matter what, if you have the money, then everybody will come and try to take it from you, and they'll break your ribs. They'll do anything to take that ball away from you. So it's kind of like there are two mindsets. One, somebody has to get the ball, and then somebody has to hold the ball so that they maintain their wealth. And then when people are going to investors and raising capital, it's the same. It's really similar. It's like these people, they've spent their whole life, accumulating wealth, and then their families have money, and then they're doing everything to protect it. So we just have to show people that we can sell them into the idea that we're going to help you protect it. We're not trying to take it away. We're going to help you protect it even more.
On the same team. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's one. And then yes, the second thing is more just, it's good for the health. And then I like the mindset, because if I can lift weights, then I can talk to somebody, I can talk to a real estate investor, and then like, it's not a big deal. So is this more of the psychology?
Discipline as well. I find it's something, like I'm trying to get my kids now into sport, and it's like they're trying different things because they have different ages and each one has their specific interest. But I think it's really important, and it teaches you a lot about life and discipline. I think is the main thing. Yeah, it's very important. And it's good to show yourself that you can achieve things. Like you said, it's once you do it physically, the other side becomes possible. You prove to yourself there's things that you thought you can't do and you actually can, and that's like very powerful, and it can be used across different areas in your life.
Oh yeah, and I don't think the sport that matters, as long as you do anything that's hard and competitive. Then I think playing football helped me almost more than even my degree. It's like in real life. So it's really weird, but yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned I looked obviously I looked you up, and
Yeah.
you mentioned you had a few failed startups before you got to where you are now. What do you think failed there, and how did you learn from it?
Good questions. Yeah, I had a lot of businesses. One of them was, it was a, what was it? This one was a music company. So it was called Rap Troupe. And so the main problem, and this is the repeating problem, is that because I was also a programmer and then I was also trying to sell it, I focused all my efforts on building it from scratch. And then I would then sell it. I'll try to sell it after for a few users for like, like $10 a month or whatever. And then I'll get the feedback, and then for me to have to recode it, it'll be like another like 6 months or something. And so the feedback loop was way too tight, right? And so the way we do it now is like, when I started working in investment banking, I saw that people would sell something, they wouldn't know how to solve the problem, and then they'll use the money, and then they'll just like, it's a service basically. And so what I realized is like, we would sell. And then as we sell, we just do the minimum, the quickest things to solve the problem. And then we would use the money to build it out once we prove that it's something that can be solved. So that's probably the biggest thing. Other than that would be to, just solve a bigger problem. Don't solve like a $10 problem or a $2 problem unless you want to get venture capital and do a software as a service. We just want to solve a really, really hard problem that we could make a lot of money from, because the bigger the problem we solve, the more money we could make. So.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on NFTs?
NFTs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So it was something I actually spoke about back in 2008. Basically, there are two types of Ethereum started something called smart contracts, and those are things that you write code on. It's like Bitcoin, except you can write programmable, you can make it more programmable, if I were to just summarize what it means. So in 2017, they have something called ERC20, which are fungible tokens. So there are tokens that look exactly the same. They're homogeneous. So it's like a $25, 25 cents coin, and then they all look the same. And then there's another thing, ERC something else, I forgot the code for it, but it is, you have like collectibles. So you have coins that look different. So the point is, if somebody wants to make something that, make a type of token that is unique, then they can use non-fungible tokens either on Ethereum or on different blockchains, so that they can differentiate the tokens. And it solves, so blockchain solves the problem of transparency when it comes to people validating the types of transactions that happen with a fungible token. It's the same thing for non-fungible tokens. It solves a problem of transparency when it comes to people validating what transactions happened for unique collectibles. That's the best way I can explain it. And people are just realizing it in 2021 that it is a thing, even though it's pretty old. So, yeah.
Do you have any? Are you into it, or not yet?
Not really. Like, we're more into just traditional like cryptocurrency investing, nothing crazy. I wish, because like if I invested in Engine, I interviewed Engine like 2018. If I held it, we would have made like 2,000% back. But we took it out. But now we just invest in different cryptocurrencies in the background just to grow the capital.
Okay. Okay. What's next? What's next for Raisescom? What are you up to?
Yeah, what's next is we're just in the process of registering as an official investment bank. They call it exempt market dealer in Canada, and then we want to work on taking some deals public and just helping more people raise by building teams to sell the deals for people locally and get a license to do that for us. So that's the one thing. And then after that, long term, just become one of the number one people in Canada that are changing investment banking and changing how people do business when it comes to investment banking. And we want to make something called self-serve investment banking, like a common term that people use in a new way of doing business.
Okay. And you mentioned last thing, because you mentioned in Canada and also blockchain. What type of person, what type of company do you work with? Like, what would I have to be able to approach you and work with you?
Yeah, no, we just focus. So lately, we're focusing more on real estate, actually, just simple real estate. When it comes to the brand and the website, we keep it open because somebody may know somebody in real estate. But then when it comes to actually us raising capital and packaging your deal, we're just focusing on real estate for this year because those are the people that get the quickest results and they move really quickly.
Okay, so real estate in Canada or globally?
In US, UK, Canada, Australia.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just want to put that out there for anyone in our audience that can potentially be interested.
Nice.
Your help. All right. I think that's it from me. Yeah, it was a pleasure. I'll edit the interview, send it for you to review. Any feedback we can incorporate, and then we'll publish it and go from there.
Absolutely. Thank you. This was really fun. And one last question before I go. How did you find me, by the way?
We've always on the lookout. We have smartbranding.com, so we do a lot on trying to educate people about the importance of good names, good brands, strong brands, and with a name like yours, obviously, kind of obvious candidate.
Yeah.
Good name.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, it was worth every cent.